make sure we have plenty of time to get, I'm going to hand this over to Lee so we could talk about community PR, which is something that can be implemented today. Call us after the webinar here and we'll get right to work for you. Take it away, Lee.
Absolutely. Thanks, James, and thanks, Garrett. I think so. Just to make a transition here. So far, we've been talking about largely on-page stuff, right? Like building this content that's helpful for your user. But how can you establish yourself in your own community, in the community of your ICP, in order to build visibility, drive traffic, and then ideally bring on new customers and make sales. So we believe that community PR is the way to do that. And so community PR is the act of building this visibility for your business or for your entity in a given community, ideally the community of your ideal customer. So it's an alternative to digital PR in that it's hyper local. So it's really focused on given communities, but it can parlay into both search visibility and AI visibility. And it's something we've been doing for a while now, and we're really excited about it, but it's continuing to evolve. So how it differs from traditional digital PR is, again, that it's hyper local. There's really no reliance on any sort of editorial control or existing relationships with writers or editorial boards for media publishers. And instead of publishing your content on these media outlets, you're really publishing content for these trusted local organizations that your customers and your ICPs are already in love with. They're already involved with, ideally. So yeah, it's a win-win all around. How do we do community PR here at Citation Labs and with our sister agency, ZipSprout? Well, what we do is we sponsor hyperlocal nonprofit organizations in a given community, and this can be regional, very local, or national organizations. We use those partnerships to get backlinks and to win these brand mentions and citations. And we have been doing this for a long time now. I think it's roughly since 2016. We've built over 21,000 of these partnerships. We've sent over $7 million in, I think it's closer to 8 now. It might be actually have crested 8 that we have sent to these nonprofits. And so, it's as much a PR play as it is also a philanthropic endeavor where you're supporting and really establishing yourself in this community. So it's really exciting for us. Because oftentimes the work that you do as a marketer doesn't really ladder up into overall community good. But in this case, that's what we're doing, is supporting these beloved nonprofit organizations that are really struggling in this political cycle with funding. So, what are the benefits here? Number one, visibility for your brand, right? Number two, community goodwill. So you're building another, community goodwill around your brand for sponsoring these organizations. There's also the possibility for downstream media coverage if you can use the nonprofits' press contacts to get downstream coverage of your sponsorship or the good works that you've been doing with this community. And then also, not for nothing, like ideally here we're talking about traffic and sales. As people do business with these community-oriented businesses that they have seen supporting these organizations that they love. So why does this work for SEO and GEO? Well, number one, we found that local links are really crucial for local SERPs, but we've also found that local LLMs like them, and it's a really interesting way for you to get your brand in front of an LLM because, frankly speaking, these LLMs are already cataloging and adding to their database these local nonprofits. One of the ways that we frequently do a lot of the prospecting when we're looking for new opportunities is by using ChatGPT's deep research tool, and they can pull dozens and dozens and dozens of these local nonprofits. And so, they're clearly crawling these sites and understanding these local communities. So if your brand is showing up in alignment with these local nonprofits, our hypothesis here is that it leads to a strong visibility uptake. And then the cool thing is that these plays scale because due to just the nature of nonprofits and also grants and funding being stripped away from a lot of these organizations, they need your money, and they're really keen to work with you on all sorts of different partnerships to bring visibility to your brand, and then to help you support them. So, as we know here, link building is changing, right? And SEO is changing, but the cool thing is that this ladders both into SEO and GEO. So, you get your backlink. We're also going to talk about brand mentions in a second here. You're talking about these narrative fragments. There's all sorts of ways that you can sort of surface your brand in a positive light using these narrative fragments and local impact stories. And then you're also getting the anchor text, and you're getting the the quote unquote link juice from acquiring this local backlink. So if you wanted to DIY it today, how would you go about doing it? It's pretty simple. Like the process is pretty simple. It is time intensive. So what you're going to do is you're going to find and reach out to all the local nonprofits in your area, sort of meet your criteria, right? You want to go for, ideally speaking, brand relevant or page relevant placements. So you're going to, say, for example, we'll talk about it in a second here, but if you're viewing it from the lens of Chewy, like you would want to find brands that are, or nonprofits that are relevant to your brand. You're going to see if these organizations feature any sort of sponsor give back or sponsor thank yous, and in any sort of, are they featuring them in social media posts? Are they adding them to their blog? Are they reaching out their newsletters? Like, you want to understand a little bit more about what they offer. Typically, a lot of these nonprofits will have sort of a sheet, like a sponsor kit about like what they offer for you at certain tiers of sponsorship. And then from there, once you've decided, okay, here's my budget, here's what we want, from these nonprofits, and here's the nonprofits we want to sponsor, you just begin the outreach process, and you set up, your expectations for this nonprofit, and go from there. So yeah, I mean, it's time intensive, but it can be really, really rewarding and valuable from a visibility standpoint. And also, if you don't want to DIY it, we can handle it for you. So where can you look? The short answer is everywhere. There are hundreds of thousands of these nonprofit organizations all over the country. It runs the gamut from community schools, gardens, theater programs, art festivals, chambers of commerce. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So you're not going to fall short on these hyperlocal organizations. The opportunities are out there for sure.
We've got 150,000 that we've connected with over the years. It's a lot of them out there, and I don't think we've really started to scratch the surface. So it's a really amazing space, and it's a really amazing type of publisher that's actively engaged with their community. And it's I think one of the biggest overlooked channels. I think of it as a local channel that's with national reach that people really haven't caught on to yet. So it's a really, because they all have news. Sorry, Lee. They all have newsletters. They all have social media accounts. They all have reach into a local audience, and it's not necessarily all like just nonprofits. We are talking about like membership-based organizations too that you have to join. But for anybody that's trying to reach like a small business audience nationally, I mean, I couldn't say enough about chambers of commerce. Right? Like it's absolutely just a game changer for reaching SMBs and generating and demonstrating that you have relevance across the, in all these sort of regional places across the entire U.S. It's absolutely astounding that it's a thing and it's so underutilized. So we'd love to have. That's another great pitch. I'll let you keep going. Thank you, Lee.
That's cool. No, I think it's very important to note. And I mean, also just noting that, a lot of these nonprofits have fan bases and really like engaged communities that are focused around the success of the nonprofit. So when you're engaging with these brands, which there are so many of, or these nonprofits there are so many of, you're also, getting in front of their community, which is really exciting as well. So yeah, just to go into, where you might look for the lens of Chewy and Chewy Vet Care in Atlanta, there's all sorts of opportunities for you as a business. So, like you might look at service animal and pet therapy organizations. You might look at animal shelters. You might look at nonprofit vets that are around the area that you could help and sort of reach out to, and animal rescues. I mean, there's probably in the metro Atlanta area, there's hundreds of these opportunities that you could get in touch with and help support to raise visibility for your brand. Now, the interesting thing is, and this is your brand may already be engaged in philanthropic efforts, right? You just might not be optimizing for it. And not that everything needs to be so transactional as this, but in the case of raising your visibility in for SEO or in search engines and generative engines here, in the case of Chewy, they sponsor over 110,000 animal organizations in and around the United States. And, it's largely a one-way street here. They are providing all sorts of, wish lists and donating animal and pet food and all sorts of other things to these organizations. But if you go on these organizations' websites, there's not really any mention of Chewy or brand mentions or links back to their site or anything along those lines in their sponsor us section. So, if I were giving this advice to Chewy, what I would say is, try to activate your existing partnerships if you already have them, because, you may already be involved in philanthropic work, but and so it might just be as simple as sending a blast email to everybody, encouraging them to add a logo and add a brand mention and add a link to their site, because you already might have these existing partnerships that are ready for activation. So once you've set up these partnerships, what's involved here? And I'm going to run through this pretty quickly, but we'll circle back during the question and answer period, I'm sure. But yeah, don't just settle for a logo. You want to make sure that you get a logo. You want to make sure you get a link. You want to make sure that if it's possible for you to get a blog post or a shout out in their social media or in their newsletter, all that's important. We'll talk about the brand mentions in just a second here, but you want to not just settle for a logo. You want people to be able to click back to your site and understand a little bit more about what your brand's doing and how it's engaged with the nonprofit. You also might want to ask the organization to add structured schema to their sponsor page. This is going to get you some weird looks, because 9 times out of 10, these nonprofits don't have a dedicated webmaster, and they are going to look at you like you have 2 heads, because they will not know what schema is. But if you can provide them with, a detailed instruction about how to do that for their CMS, they might be able to do this as well. But this is just another thing you can ask for. And yeah, let's just, getting down to the brass tacks here, what is involved in creating this brand mention, because you want to make sure that you're consistent here, but you also want to make sure that you have your brand name, a description, what your brand does, a clear description of what it is that you did, the impact, the outcome, and then also just the mention of the location to, again, tie back to that hyper-local visibility side of things. So in our case, we're looking at Chewy, and say they sponsored a nonprofit. What you might say is, online pet superstore Chewy from Boston, Massachusetts, donated 500 of their brand new BPA-free chew balls, and now our rescue puppies have new toys for years to come. That's a little bit truncated, because you might also want to say the name of the rescue organization, but you're going to provide this brand mention to the organization and say, hey, this is what I want underneath the logo and the link, just to sort of tie back everything and make it this nice, pretty package to hand over to them. Things to avoid. You want to avoid inconsistent brand descriptions. You want to make sure that all of your offerings are covered. These confuse LLMs and will lead to hallucinations about your brand if you have these inconsistent brand mentions. And so just making sure that if you're an enterprise scale company or a company with multiple different offerings, that you're just as dialed in as possible about your brand mentions and making sure that they're very comprehensive. So yeah, here's a little checklist about, are you earning AI citations that are quality? So, do you have the solid brand mention? Is there a clear action or result statement about what you did? Is it on an indexable page that's crawlable by both AI and search crawl bots? And then, is your brand included in organization schema or text alt tags? And are you building these mentions and links on multiple trusted sites? And if you're doing all these things, you're definitely on the right path. So just to put a bow on it, which is something we're doing here. This last couple slides. We believe that community PR leads to real visibility, and it's not just through SEO and GEO, but it's through building visibility on a full spectrum basis. So you're looking at search engines, you're looking at AI agents, you're looking at social media, you're looking at email blasts, you're looking at spreading the good word for just engaged community members. And then also there's the possibility for downstream media coverage if you're able to build those connections between the nonprofits that you're sponsoring and their local press contacts. So it's really exciting. We're thrilled about it. We've been doing this for our clients now, since 2016, and it's something that makes us feel good and makes me personally excited to get up in the morning and come to work, because it's helping businesses and the clients that we work with, but it's also helping these nonprofit organizations that can be struggling, for funding and to continue their mission. So yeah, here's a little bit about us, which I'm going to just breeze through because we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, we wrote the book on link building. We started Citation Labs in 2011. We started local link building in 2016. We're really leaning into this local search volatility, or in just search volatility in general, and the future of AI and LLMs. We offer concierge level service. You've seen the tools, you've seen the offerings. We're checking in regularly. We're pulling, link impact reporting and link gap analyses to make sure that we're spending, your link building spend in the right way, and also just making sure that you understand the impact of what was done, and how you can tie that back to ROI. We're not building any BS links, and we're really focused on this idea of thought leadership and moving into the new epoch, as Garrett put it. And so
is that how you say it? Is it epic or epoch?
I think it's epoch. I don't know. I could be totally wrong here.
Oh boy.
But yeah, so just don't get left out of the LLMs. Start getting some citations. Build links with us. If it's not something you feel like you can DIY, we can handle it for you. Book a call. We'll do all the analysis and the legwork stuff. We'll get you the citations and the links, and we'll show you how your visibility is increased. And yeah, here's some next steps. But those are all in the handout that you'll get as well. So no problems there.